Good evening, Wilson community members. My name is Tim Carter. I'm the superintendent of Wilson Central School District. This is the regular board meeting, June 22nd, 2021. At this time, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns that occurred during this board meeting or after, please don't hesitate to call the number 751-9399, and Mrs. Pavon, the district clerk, will make sure your question is answered. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to our Vice President, Mr. Chipola. Mr. Chipola?
The meeting of the Board of Education will now come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes dated June 8, 2021? So moved. Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. I'll now turn it over to Superintendent Carter.
Field promotion. Thank you. Thank you, Vice President Chipola. At this time, we have three special presentations this evening. We have a grant fund proposal, we have a pathway to reopening conversation, and we also have our retiree recognition. It creates a really good transition. I'm going to do the two presentations first, do our recognition of retirees, and then we're going to have cake, and we'll be able to transition, and if anyone wants to leave before going on with the regular board meeting, they can ditch out that point. It's a good breaking point. So we're going to begin with our federal money grant proposals. I've been community members, I've mentioned it at most of the board meetings, any of the presentations that I've been doing, that there are a number of buckets of money that the district has the ability to use to help us in our efforts to continue to move out of this pandemic. Some of the buckets of money have already been allotted to us, have already been petitioned, or the application have been given, and we've been reimbursed. So this presentation is sort of a culmination of a bunch of different pots of money, and ones that we've used over the last couple months, ones that are currently planned to be used, and a couple that in the near future we're going to be making application for. So the first one is the FEMA grant, and I'm going to let Mrs. Oliveri explain that grant, and we'll talk about, and I'll talk about what we used it for.
Great, thank you, Mr. Carter. We were able to apply for a FEMA grant. We became aware of the fact that schools were welcome to apply for any pandemic-related expenses. So we worked in the business office getting that application ready. And what we used in the application were all the expenditures that we had from March until June of 2020 for additional COVID-19 supplies. That's what we focused on with the FEMA grant. And Mr. Carter will let you know exactly what we listed out and if we were awarded all the funds or not.
So the items we applied for and purchased and was seeking reimbursement was hand sanitizer to begin the school year, our sanitizing sprayers, those are those big wand sprayers that we use to sanitize large areas every single night, each classroom, and then if there was a COVID outbreak prior to the classroom returning to that class, we would sanitize the entire classroom or area which they are in. We purchased tablets, thermometers, cleaning solutions that was COVID approved. We purchased multiple cases of paper towels and face masks, isolation gowns and all sorts of PPE for our nurses, coolers for distribution of food, and all of that came under this FEMA grant. The total award of the grant was $16,075, which we applied for, and we were approved for $15,142. And we're still in the process of appealing the remaining $933. So we're hoping for a full reimbursement of that material. The next grant
is the CARES Act. That was the first pot of money that the schools were able to receive through these federal funds. There's two parts, ESSER and GEAR. Our ESSER amount was about $166,000 and our GEAR amount was $28,000. This grant did require a non-pub share requirement, meaning we needed to share our funds with any non-pubs that have our Wilson students in it. The grant was approved on April 16th, 2021, and we had a few things that were submitted to cover under this grant that already were expensed either at the end of 1920 or the very beginning of 2020 for the 2021 school year.
And those items include our child care costs for our emergency workers. So the district applied for and covered for any of our emergency workers that needed child care costs during the pandemic. The district covered that cost, and then we put that money into this grant and are awarded money back from that. We put 2.5 teacher salaries to benefit the money supplanting state, so we would not have had those funds to hire those new teachers. We had 2 elementary teachers that we hired last year under this grant with the idea that the numbers were going to go up, and they did. So those teachers were hired this year full-time as probationary teachers. We also covered under the grant the cost of our opening day speaker, Dr. Daryl Tonema, who talked about mental health awareness, not only in the staff, but what signs to look for in our students as they return back to school at the beginning of the year. We also purchased the desk dividers at the elementary school, and those desk dividers allowed us to have our elementary school in 5 days a week at the beginning of the school year, and then 4 days a week towards the end of the school year. And the majority of our elementary schools students were in. By the time we got to the end of the year, we only had 42 students out on remote instruction, which left a little over 400 students in the district, in our school every single day. So those desk dividers were integral in allowing that to happen. And we also purchased some Chromebooks under this money in order to make sure that every one of our students had a Chromebook to begin the school year. So that's the CARES Act. Enter the next one, and Mrs. Oliveri is going to explain this in a minute, but it's this CRRSA grant along with the American Rescue Plan Act that is part of the reason why we're having this presentation. Because part of the requirements under these 2 grants is for us to do a public explanation of how we're going to plan on using that money, give the district residents and staff a chance to give some input, and also use some of the staff in order to help make some of the decisions. So over the last 4 weeks, we've been meeting with different staff members, with the WTA Executive Committee, taking a look at how we could best use this money to fill the gap for our students that have fallen behind. There's a lot of regulations that fall under these monies. One of them is that we have to do this public forum. 2, we're going to put this PowerPoint on the website with a little notation that they can read or watch this video. And then there's going to be a little Google form that you can give any feedback you want into that Google form, and we'll take that feedback and make adjustments or continue moving on. I think we've spent 4 or 5 weeks really taking a look at how we could best meet the needs of our kids. So the first one is the CRRSA.
Yes, you might hear this referred to as CRRSA. That's what everyone's calling it. This money can be spent until September 30th of 2023. So that gives us all next year, the year after, and the following summer. Applications are due by June 30th, which we have a lot of the application done. We're just wait for a few days to see if you have any feedback for us before we completely submit it. The available amount is $981,000 to Wilson, and this does not supplant state aid. And what that means is this is additional funding to our state aid. It's very flexible. It can be used for anything allowed in the CARES Act. The last line of it says, other activities that are necessary to maintain operations of and continue services in the local education agency and then continuing to employ existing staff in the LEA, the school district. Another line also says, providing principals and other school leaders with the resources necessary to address the needs of their individual schools. So this money, as opposed to the next pot of money that we'll talk about, is very flexible. So like Mr. Carter said, we met with various stakeholders and came up with what we think the school needs in the next few years to help with the teachers and the students coming back from the pandemic. So.
All right. So the first thing that we're planning on proposing to spend this money on is Chromebooks. We have purchased over the last 3 or 4 years a number of Chromebooks. We had been 100% Chromebook one-to-one at the elementary school prior to this school year. During the beginning of this pandemic, we hustled and made really good common sense purchases early enough so we could have high school, middle school students with Chromebooks also to start the school year. The purchases that were made 3 years ago, 4 years ago, those are starting to come to the point where they're at their end of their life. There's about a 4 to 5 year turnover on Chromebooks, so we have to do some repurchasing. So you'll see throughout this grant and the next grant, we have spaced out the replenishment or the replacement plan for our Chromebooks for the next 5 to 10 years through this grant. So we will use some of this money to purchase Chromebooks for next year. Secondly, we had started a plan at the elementary school 3 years ago in putting clear touch panels in every classroom. We had just completed that and put a few in the high school, middle school, probably 10 to 12. And then the pandemic happened and we had to quickly turn to trying to find as many as we could so we can video lessons and send them out. So we kind of patched a lot of things together. This grant's going to allow us to finish that product or that project. We'll have 100% clear touches in every single high school and middle school classroom and common space for this school year. Hopefully we'll have them over the summer and be able to get them in before the beginning of the school year. If not, it'll be periodically throughout next school year. So every classroom, the clear touch panel is integral in the instructional process here at Wilson. We're going to purchase an Apex software program for not only AIS, which you're going to hear AIS a lot. It stands for Academic Intervention, and it really has to do with those students that are falling behind. So that's basically a lot of what this money is going to be used for, is assisting our students that have fallen behind or will fall behind because of the pandemic. So we're going to have use the Apex software at the middle school and high school, and we're going to purchase that and the training for the 21-22 and the 22-23 school year out of this grant. The high school, middle school is the hardest area to do academic intervention because it's the hardest part of it is matching up the classroom teacher in the period that they're free to the students that need academic intervention. The chances that they all have the same period free so they can meet up and work independently is slim to none. So this Apex program creates an asynchronous type of environment in which academic intervention can happen, and there's teachers available to help assist them along the way. We're going to use the tutorial program for academic intervention, and then there's some coursework that we're going to talk about a little bit more in the next couple of bullets. We're going to use the coursework for remote instruction for next year. We're proposing to put in an academic intervention curriculum facilitator or coordinator for the 21-22 and the 22-23 school year. Since the wonderful model of our technology facilitators worked so smashingly over the last few years, we're going to try patterning that model and try putting a teacher on special assignment to help facilitate and manage all things that have to do with academic intervention, middle school, high school, elementary, and then once we have that up and running, move into looking at curriculum. We're proposing to take 2 high school and middle school teachers and putting them into the fully remote model. We still don't know what the governor's decision or state ed decision is, so we're proposing to take 2 teachers, hire them, and have them work completely with the remote model. They would use the Apex program, and we'll talk a little bit about that more when I have my pathway to reopening. But those 2 teachers at high school, middle school would be primarily focused on our students that are remote, if that's an option for next year. If it's not an option for next year, they will assist with academic intervention or with the classroom teachers. We're proposing to take 2 elementary teachers, hire them to reduce class sizes. In 2 of our class sizes, one of them is is a particular class that is in need of some special attention based upon their academic level. And then we have a kindergarten class, which is a very awesome thing, because anytime you have a big kindergarten class coming in, it means our population is growing. And we have a really large kindergarten class coming in, and they're a large class and they're coming in fairly low. So we're proposing to put a fifth kindergarten teacher in to reduce those class sizes. That'll be for the 21 and 22, to 22 and the 23 school year. And then we're proposing to take one elementary teacher and use them for the purposes of remote instruction. We ended up with 40 students on remote at the elementary. I believe that number is even going to shrink at the beginning of the school year. If we get down to the 2025 realm, I would use one teacher. That teacher would work primarily asynchronous with the students at the elementary school, providing work and material and video lessons, and then have class or office hours throughout the day with each one of those grade level students to make sure that they can be on track. So that's our proposal for our CRRSA application. Now the American Rescue Plan.
Yes, this is the big pot of money that we have received. So this money can be expended until September 30th of 24. So we get an extra year for that. 23-24 school year is fully included. And then we still have the summer of 24. And that is important because this grant has some summer requirements and some after-school requirements. Applications not quite available yet. We did have to just send in our assurances by May 24th. The plan is due on our website by July 1st. So that's a few weeks away. And we must allow for public comment. That's the purpose of tonight. And the Google survey will be out tomorrow for anyone to submit their comments to us for review. The amount is $2.3 million, but there are restrictions on how it can be spent. $1 million of it must be used for learning loss. And all the teachers out there, you're well aware of what learning loss means, closing the gap, evidence-based instruction, things like that. You're better at that than I am. But the executive board of the WTA is working hard to think of the best way to reach our students in that learning loss. $146,000 is required for summer enrichment. So we will be working on developing plans for the next few summers for our students at all ages. And then an after-school program. We're hoping maybe it can even be a before-school program because I know Wilson Elementary has had some success with that program. So we're looking into that and bringing some type of before or after-school program back for them. $733,000 must be used for learning loss evidence-based programs. Teachers are assisting us on different ideas for that. And 1.3 is considered the federally awarded money. So they took this pot of money and broke it into many different buckets that we have to make sure we're meeting the requirements for, which we will, make sure that we do in the business office. Right now, 12.5% has to be spent every year, but there's some discussion on that might not be in the end how it ends up. We might be able to spend more in one year and less in another. So I will stay on top of that and make sure we meet the requirements there. But Mr. Carter will continue on some of the additional items we think we can use with this money.
So you see some commonalities. So what we did is the CRRSA took care of 2 school years of some of those items that we already talked about. You'll see a repeat on some of those items because this grant will take care of the 3rd year, and then there's some other things we've added in. So for example, technology needs for the next 4 years. We will continue for the next 4 years, for the next 4 summers, to purchase the needed technology to make sure that we roll over all of our Chromebooks so we have the latest technology into the hands of our students and in the hands of our teachers. You've already heard about the summer and the after-school program. We will spend this summer and the beginning of next school year putting together those programs. I know a lot of districts rushed to put programs together for this summer, and that seemed all well and good, but I think our kids, our students, our staff, everybody needs a break, so we're not doing a summer program. This year, we will start out with an after-school or before-school program next year, have a summer program for the next summer, and another one for the year after, and another one for the year after. So we'll have 3 years of a summer program, in our hopes to make sure we continue to focus on catching up our students with what they've lost over these last year and a half. We've talked about program enrichments. We have some areas of programming and music that have some requests to replace over the last few years, some programs that wanted to be added. We've added that into the grant. Specifically, our band teacher has been wanting to put a marching band together that falls under program enrichment. In order to do a marching band, you need certain things to have a marching band, and we don't have those things in place, and we've been waiting for a grant, and this one gives us the opportunity to put that in place. We're also going to put in replacement of the baby grand for our after-school and evening programs. We have one baby grand in the district, and that one is many years old. So that's what that money is in the program enrichment, and I'm sure we'll continue to collect information on program enrichment. You see the APEX program that will continue for the 23-24 and 24-25 school year. AIS curriculum coordinator will continue for the 23-24 school year. Our high school, middle school remote instruction will continue for the 22-23 and 23-24 school year. Elementary teachers for AIS. We added an additional AIS teacher for 3 years at the elementary school to try and catch our kids while they're at their most vulnerable and while they're at the best point at which we can making some strides and gains and catching kids up. We've also we're in the process of restructuring how AIS looks specifically in scheduling. So we're funneling and we're flooding as many people, highly certified, highly qualified people, into a grade level for a period of time to focus our students that are at their lowest, the ones that are on track, and also our students that need to be pushed and keep moving on. So that's what a lot of that AIS at the elementary school is going to be focused on. Again, the elementary reduced class size teachers, we had them for 2 years under this last grant. It'll be another year for this grant. If we don't need to reduce the class sizes, they'll be used for academic intervention to continue to put the most people in front of our kids, assisting them to continue to move forward. Let's see, reduced class size, elementary remote student and AIS, that's that elementary remote teacher for the 3rd year. The last grant covered the first 2 years. This grant's covering the 3rd year. We've talked about putting building-based subs in place, both at the elementary, in the middle, and high school, because right now what happens is when if a teacher wakes up in the morning not feeling well, not able to come to school, we pull one of our AIS tutors or one of our AIS teachers in order to cover, and that shortchanges the kids when it comes to that academic intervention support. So we talked about putting a building-based sub at both buildings in order to cover those classes that at the last minute need coverage for meetings, for someone's ill in the morning and we're not able to get a sub, or if we're short subs for a particular day, we're not pulling from our academic intervention, we're pulling from our building-based sub pool. And then sub-help for facilities, try to get that out. Sub-help for facilities to keep up with the cleaning and sanitation, not only during next school year, but also get our buildings ready to beginning and open the school year. I think that's everything under the ARP, or the American Rescue Plan. Just when you thought we had enough grants, there's 2 more coming our way.
Yes, we've had 2 recent opportunities to apply for some additional grant funding. And the first one we're going to talk about is the school improvement grant. Funds were made available due to our focus review of the middle school. And we were made aware of the fact that $100,000 was available if we would get the application in rather quickly. They would approve it rather quickly, which they actually did. We got it in and they approved it within 2 days, and this was all within June of this year. So the funds will be used for many different things to improve some resources for our families and our kids that we've come up with, and Mr. Carter will go over those.
So really, the focused review began with a parent survey, which came out last year. And it was based on our test scores and our number of kids that are absent from the high school, middle school, specifically the middle school. And this parent survey came up with a number of areas focus from that. And it was a parent survey, a student survey, a staff survey. All that information was put together, analyzed by a focused review team, and it came up with a number of goals. And some of those goals included academic intervention, which you've heard a lot about, also services for our families. So the first thing we're going to talk about is creating a one-stop family resource center for all of our students and all of our families. So whether it be registering, whether it be a guidance support, academic support, all those areas, they have one place to go and get the answers, or at least ask the questions. So we're going to create a family resource center. That work hopefully will begin over the summer, and we can launch the family resource center concept at the beginning of the school year. This particular grant, because of the nature of the timing of it, most of this is materials and stuff, not people, for this year, because this money had to be spent prior to the end of the school year. So the development of the Family Resource Center, we're going to take one of our classrooms, turn it into office space, turn it into a Family Resource Center. So it'll be the creation of the area, the partitions of walls, air conditioning, furniture, all for that Family Resource Center, which all of our student services will be in one spot. So our 504 services, our special needs services, all of the guidance services will be within a small area of each other. We're also purchasing family-friendly furniture for all of our guidance suites as part of this grant. Student family furniture, that was the second one. Our offices, the new Family Resource Center, along with the technology for each one of those centers. We're going to purchase a new digital assessment software to evaluate at-risk students and additional technology to use for that software to have it on iPads. And we're also doing some TSI, which is targeted school intervention training and focused review over the summer, and some professional development on a second step program, which is a guidance program around character ed, around mental health resources and things like that. So that's this particular grant. That was the $100,000 for this school year. That was 1920. Hope I got my school years right. 1920, current school year. No, I'm off by one. 2021. It sounded good, but it really didn't ring. 2021, this school year, that's what that grant for. When that's reimbursed, it's our understanding, and by message from the state ed today, that we're going to continue with that designation for next year. And next year, another allotment of money may be available to us. And it's our understanding that once this grant is allotted, meaning the money is, we've spent the money and it's reimbursed to us, we're going to be having the opportunity to put in another grant application early next year. If that occurs, our target would be to focus on mental health and chronic absenteeism. We would move forward with trying to put a school social worker in place for next school year for the purposes of targeting mental health services and chronic absenteeism, which is two of the big indicators under that targeted focused review plan. So that's if the grant is awarded for the 21-22 school year. So the last thing is, this is as recent as this last 2 weeks. I had the opportunity over the last couple years to have conversations with different districts around the COPS grant. COPS stands for Community Something Service Grant. Bunch of acronyms. It's tough to keep them all in your head, but it really talks about linking law enforcement with the school community. It has to do with technology. It has to do all different things. Could be school resource officers. This particular COPS grant is all about technology. The money allotment for the COPS grant is like $500,000. Wilson is way too small to put in a grant for that amount. We would not be awarded. But if we created a collaboration with another entity and shared the money across those two entities, we might have a shot at that award. So we've been, in the last 2 weeks, we've been in collaborative conversations with Niagara Falls Central School District, specifically Niagara Falls High School, and they're putting the grant in, and then they were looking for a partner. So they had about $100,000 left in their grant, and I said, that's about the perfect amount what I would need. So I've been spending the last 2 weeks talking with Niagara Falls, Niagara County Sheriff, the Niagara Falls Police Department, and the grant coordinator to put together this grant, and it's supposed to go in tomorrow. And if awarded, it'll be approximately $100,000, and we would use that to improve our communication across the district, both in the use of radios, but also in cameras, so we can visually see what's going on. Our last capital project did a great job with cameras inside the building. We've got a couple locations inside, and we've got a bunch of locations outside that we would like to have some overlapping look at. So this particular grant would purchase 25 AXE 900 radios, which will allow us to communicate between buildings, between offices, to the nurse's office, to the administrators, to all the supervisors in the district, from the elementary to the high school to the middle school. Each one would have a different channel and the ability to communicate between them without using our handheld store-bought walkie-talkies that every time someone speaks, it sounds like Charlie Brown's teacher. So they are fairly advanced communication tool. They're in the process, Niagara County is in the process to put a tower in Wilson. When that tower is completed, when the Niagara County Fire coordinator finishes that tower will be enhanced, our communications will be enhanced through that walkie-talkie. Also as a benefit, we will have a channel with both Niagara County Fire and Niagara County Police in order, if there is an emergency in the area, or just to know what's going on in the area, but more importantly, to communicate. A lot of this came out of some of our inadvertent lockdown drills. So if somebody hits one of the panic buttons and we go into lockdown, one of the things we talked about is if we know it's a lockdown, you can't just shut it off, because our safety plan says you have to finish it. The only way we can release is to go door to door, have the police come in. Well, when they're coming and they think it's a lockdown drill, or a lockdown and it's not a drill, they're coming full speed. That's the last thing we want, is a police officer coming full speed towards a building, and it's an inadvertent hitting of the panic button. We've had two. Someone leaned up against one or walked in looking for a light switch and touched it, and that just happens. Two over the last 2 years is not a lot. But when they happen, we want the ability to be able to communicate with the our Niagara County sheriffs to say, okay, we know it's been an inadvertent push. We still need you to come, but you don't have to drive 90 miles an hour to get here with lights on. We just think that that's a good safety measure, and the ability just to communicate with Niagara County Police and Fire. So that's pretty much I think that's the end of the slides, if I remember right from the last one we wrote. Mm-hmm. So those are all of the different grant opportunities that the district is going to be taking advantage of. The board during executive session will talk about the creation and how we're going to go about creating these positions so we can best put the district in the best possible position moving forward. Because when these grants go away, we cannot, in some cases, we won't be able to keep some of these positions. So we have to do what's best for our kids, what's best for our district. So that's our presentation of the grant-funded positions. Again, that presentation will go on the website along with a questionnaire or a chance to give input. The next presentation that is on the docket for this evening is the path to reopening. This is much shorter than our first one, so you can all have a sigh of relief for that. And there's no PowerPoint for it. And I just want to talk about the importance that we're really focusing in Wilson on what reopening is going to look like. There are still some unknowns, but at least I would like you to know what's in my head and what's in the board's conversation and in the district's conversation moving forward. First of all, I would say that Wilson Central School District's #1 goal is for all students to return to in-person instruction for September of 2021. Why? Because in-person instruction is the most effective way to learn. We have proven that over this pandemic, that at-home remote instruction is not the best way for our students to learn, for the majority of our students to learn. So in-person is the most effective way. COVID data is remaining and continuing to drop lower. And if the 3 feet social distancing applies with current data, we will be able to bring everybody back full-time. We have an ample supply of vaccines in this county. We'll continue to work with Niagara County Department of Health to provide vaccine clinics to be administered. And if there's a request for a need for a booster, we'll again work with that Department of Health to provide a site for that booster. And it's not, a big ask to provide the site because they're the Department of Health. They can just take the site. It's part of their ability, but it's better to work in cooperation with them. From all indications, the number of vaccines and the percentage of people vaccinated will play an important role in whether or not and how we reopen next year. If necessary, Wilson Central School District and the other districts in ON BOCES will follow all current New York State requirements, continue to clean and sanitize, do temperature checks, screens for individuals upon entry, screen all guests, utilize isolation rooms. If those are what they're asking us to do, we can do that with all of our kids back in 5 days a week in both the elementary and the middle school and high school. We can comply with all ventilation requirements. We'll continue to advocate for high-speed internet access. We'll provide PPE if needed, monitor community group uses for the school buildings, and continue with regular communications with our local health department. If needed, if we're asked to, we can provide COVID-19 testing right in here in the building. We have the ability to be able to do that. Live stream athletic contests and special events, and effectively transition to remote instruction if that's what is needed, if there's an outbreak. And we'll follow all restrictions and quarantine guidance as required by New York State Department of Health and the Niagara County Department of Health. Again, our goal in Wilson Central School is every child in school 5 days a week, both elementary, middle, and high school. Remote instruction, we have proven, does not work. If there's individuals that need it because of a medical reason, there is a process for medical reasons to be able to receive instruction. It's the medical home instruction process through ON BOCES, and if a doctor's note is provided, we can provide that instruction to those students through ON BOCES. If New York State Department of Ed or the governor says that remote instruction has to happen for next year, in Wilson, it's going to look drastically different. It will not be kids having a choice to log in, log out of classrooms. We will not have cameras on in the classroom. That is just not an effective way to reach all of our kids. So we will separate our remote kids from our regular ed, rest of our students in the classroom. Again, any comments about this or the other pieces of this particular presentation? The phone number to the district office is 751-9399. I'll be glad to have this conversation individually with you, or Mrs. Pavan could direct your question to whoever you need to answer it. So that's my pathway to reopening. Board members, you've heard that a couple times in news and notes, but I wanted to make sure I made a point that, the only way we can effectively plan is to plan on 5 days next year. We just need a couple things to help us that. Right. Any questions, board members? All right. We have one last set of presentations, and I'm sorry it had to wait to the end, but which I think is a very important presentation, is our retirees. This school year, board members and members of the community and our staff, we have 4 retirees. I'm going to begin by asking Mrs. Sue Bell to come join us up front. Mrs. Bell's our director of our cafeteria, food service, director of food service. Lost that word for a second. And she is going to present, for the purposes of retirement, Sandra Harrington. Sandra, would you come join us also?
Sandy started her career at Wilson Central Schools back in September of 1994. Over the course of her nearly 27 years here, Sandy has proven to be not only a great asset to the team and a hard worker, but also an outstanding leader. Sandy has always stepped up when something new has come along. Sandy, we hope you have a wonderful retirement and enjoy your time traveling and visiting your children and grandchildren. You will be greatly missed.
Sandy, upon your retirement from the Wilson Central School District, giving a grateful appreciation to Sandra Harrington for dedicated service during her honorable career of 26 years. Congratulations. And so you don't forget us every morning. Drinking your tea. We also gave you a little Wilson. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And at this time, I will ask Mr. Paul Galgovich, our high school principal, to come and join us. Yep. If Joan Beatty could please come join us up front.
Great. Joan was hired in 2006, getting into teaching as a second career, and Joan taught both middle school and high school French. Her students over the years have enjoyed her theme parties and the real-world experiences that she provided through her trips abroad. I know in retirement, Joan is looking forward to spending more time with her daughter and her many dogs and other animals and just trying to relax and enjoy life. So, Joan, we thank you for your years of dedication and service to WCS, and I wish you all the best.
And Joan, upon your retirement from Wilson Central School District, giving a grateful appreciation to Joan Beatty for dedicated service to your honorable career of 15 years. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The thing about us is you don't have to come in the room. We have two retirees that unfortunately couldn't make it this evening. One falls under Mr. Galgovich's purview, so I'll let him go ahead. And we're going to honor her and deliver her coffee cup in the pulpit.
So Linda O'Connor is retiring as well. Linda was hired in 1999, and she worked mainly in the attendance office. I would like to thank Linda for her nearly 21 years of service and dedication to Wilson Central School District, and I wish her all the best in retirement as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And unfortunately for us, but fortunately for Linda Hurley, she wasn't able to be here this evening because right now she's in Philadelphia enjoying her grandchild. So I know she would, she's thinking about us, but I know she's more happy being with her grandchild than with us right now. So Linda has been a board member for 6 years in the Wilson Central School District, dedicated to the student staff of Wilson Central School District. She served on the audit committee, the safety committee. She's also part of the shared decision-making team. Linda has sat on numerous hiring committees, along with the hiring of our one of our district special ed director, numerous teachers, and she's been on negotiating teams for the district over the last 6 years. She's been dedicated to the students, to our school, and to the community. And I know in her retirement from the board was predicated by the fact that her granddaughter was getting older and she wanted to spend more time in Philadelphia and split her time between Wilson and Philadelphia. So I want to say congratulations to Linda and say thank you for all your dedicated service to our students and to our staff. Thank you.
On personnel appointments, appoint Catherine Oliveri as elementary education teacher effective September 1st, 2021. Catherine Oliveri is initially certified with childhood education, grades 1 through 6, and students with disabilities, grades 1 through 6. Credentials, and is appointed to the tenure area of elementary teacher at step B through D with benefits for the Wilson Teachers Association agreement. This appointment includes a 4-year probationary period beginning retroactively on September 2nd, 2020 through September 1st, 2024, or the first day of student attendance in September 2024. Due to successful completion 1 year of long-term substitute service, the probationary end date is contingent upon the individual receiving an overall APPR rating of effective or highly effective in at least 3 of the 4 preceding years. Probationary employees receiving an ineffective APPR rating in their final year of probation will not be eligible for tenure at that time.
Unfortunately, Mr. Diodati was not able to be here today, but usually we have the building administrator introduce. So he wrote me something and sent it to me today. So it's my pleasure to introduce to the board Ms. Kate Oliveri. She has helped and worked at the Wilson Elementary School for a few years. She started substitute teaching in between semesters while attending Cortland College for teaching. Excuse me. While here, we asked her to be a long-term substitute aide and then a long-term substitute teacher. This past school year, she was a long-term substitute teacher in 4th grade and has done a great job educating our students. She has a good rapport with her students and enjoys teaching them. We look forward to her continual growth as she works her way in becoming a solid teacher at Wilson Central School District. Now you can vote.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Congratulations. On appointments, Part B, approved middle school advisors for 2021-2022 per the WTA agreement. Brian Baker, Photo Club Video Advisor. Ronald Moberg, National Junior Honor Society Advisor. Karen Alicio, Middle School Newspaper Advisor. And Scott and Janelle Harvey, Middle School Student Council positions, split 50% each. Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Approved high school advisors for 2021-22 per the WTA agreement. Garrett Stack, High School Student Council. Jamie Lepsch and Gretchen Fournier, position split 50% each. Junior class advisor. Elise Saboron, sophomore class advisor. Sean Nevins, freshman class advisor. Jamie Lepsch, makeup crew advisor. Gretchen Fournier, play advisor. Paige Hardison, stage crew advisor. Claudia Andres, music advisor. Christine Waters, high school National Honor Society advisor. Christine Palermo, yearbook advisor. Jamie Lepsch, Students Against Drunk Driving advisor. Chad Lefevre, district photographer. And Sean Nevins, Scholastic Bowl advisor. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Approve the non-instructional substitute employee Joshua Lugan, substitute cleaner. Non-instructional substitute has received New York State fingerprint clearance and meets Sligo County civil service requirements. Do I have a motion? Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Zachary Gantra is unpaid volunteer assistant coach for varsity football for the 2021-2022 season under the direct supervision of Coach William Atlas. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Another, approved student teacher Andrew Kazuba from Madai College to teach in the middle school with Teresa Reagan, 6th grade social studies teacher from November 1st, 2021 through December 17th, 2021. His fingerprints have been cleared with the New York State Education. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Approve a community-based organization, Jill's Play Yard, under direction of Erika Sadell to provide UPK services for the 2021-2022 school year, with such approval contingent upon the closing of 3745 Ransomville, New York property, formerly Stevenson Elementary School. Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Part C, there will be no action on the code of conduct. D, approve the Wilson Central School District Comprehensive School Counseling Plan 2021-2022. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Approve the Wilson Professional Development Implementation Plan and Certified Providers 2021 through 2022. Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Approve agreement between the Wilson Central School District and WorkFit Medical as our school physician for the 2021-2022 school year at a cost of $17,652. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. G, approve dissolving the following three security accounts used to purchase U.S. federal notes at a time that it is not advantageous to reinvest. M&T Securities Incorporated, brokerage account AZW 065935, Wilmington Trust Account 1265888-000, Capital Reserve, and Wilmington Trust Account 1265888-001, General Reserve. Do I have a motion? Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. On the transportation, approve parochial transportation request of Lisa Flynn for her child to Holy Ghost Lutheran School for the 2021 school year. No transportation requests are approved based on the 50-mile transportation limit and available seating on the bus. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. Class of 1980 requests high school work through on Saturday, July 31st, 2021 from 11 a.m. through 1 p.m. Note, contingent upon the applicant following district COVID-19 screening and guidelines, the district reserves the right to cancel this request if necessary. Do I have a motion? Second.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. We will not have a Nagareen's postal board report to the absence. We will now have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Vice President Chipola. I want to first and foremost, I'll keep this as brief as possible. I think I talked enough tonight. I want to thank the administrators, the teachers, and the staff on an awesome school year, doing their absolute best for kids under some pretty extraordinary situations. I want to thank our parents and our students for the patience as we move through the school year. I look forward to graduation this coming Saturday. And I look forward to this Thursday, our baccalaureate. So my final two opportunities to talk to the senior class and then for their final goodbye on Saturday's graduation. So look forward to seeing the kids and the families over the next couple evenings. Congratulations to Ms. Saliveri on her appointment to a probationary position. And congratulations to Linda Hurley, Linda O'Connor, Sandra Harrington, and Joan Beatty on their retirement. As we approach the end of the school year, I just want to end with the same thing you heard every time I spoke to you by video. Please stay safe, please stay healthy, Have an awesome summer and stay Wilson strong. That's my
That's your
superintendent report.
Okay, any questions from the board? Any comments from the board?
Public forum.
All right, I'd like to reiterate the best to the retirees tonight, the best in the future endeavors, and the best of luck to them. For public forum, anyone willing to come up and say something, if make it quick and short.
And if anybody in the public that's watching this would like to make a comment or ask a question, again, that number is 751-9399. If it's comment to a board member or if it's just a question that needs to ask, please call that number.
I guess no one's coming. Okay, there is a need to go into executive session for personnel actions, and there will be action taken after executive session. Do I have a motion to go into executive session? Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We're in executive session. Do I have a motion to come out of executive session?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're out of this executive session. Okay. Approved memorandum of agreement between the Wilson Central School District and the Wilson CSEA covering the period 1 July 2021 through June 30th, 2025 to articulate all titles, positions represented by the CSEA and covered under the terms of the agreement and the job classification and salary tables applicable to all titles covered by the agreement. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried.
Motion to adjourn.
And motion to- That's it? Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the business meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Session adjourned.